The WNBA finals have come under fire, with many calling it a rigged embarrassment. Controversial calls in Game 5 between the New York Liberty and Minnesota Lynx have led to accusations that the referees influenced the outcome.
It was an embarrassment for the WNBA last night. It was proof that this league is so heavily dependent on Caitlin Clark. It's proof.
It was all leading up to a dramatic Game 5. The Liberty, led by MVP Breanna Stewart and rising star Sabrina Ionescu, were the favorites going in, with home court advantage at the electric Barclays Center.
The New York Liberty pulled off an overtime win against the Minnesota Lynx to secure their first ever franchise WNBA championship. The Minnesota Lynx head coach, Cheryl Reeve, was irate over the official decision.
Reeve cries foul, bring it on, right? Bring it on, because this shit was stolen from us. Bring it on. Well, we talked about it, we know we could have done some things, right? But you shouldn't have to overcome to that extent. This shit ain't that hard. Officiating, it's not that hard.
Her disappointment and frustration were palpable. She didn't hold back, expressing that crucial officiating decisions had not only affected the game, but, in her words, stolen the championship from the Lynx. Reeve was clearly against the result, pointing to the inconsistency in fouls, especially how her star player, Napheesa Collier, was held multiple times without calls, while a questionable foul allowed New York's top player to secure free throws that sealed the game. She also criticized the league's challenge system, disappointed that even a review didn't reverse a call that could have changed the game's outcome. Her remarks left no doubt. Reeve felt the Lynx were wronged by the officiating. It wasn't just a tough loss. In her eyes, it was a championship decided unfairly by the referees. Reeve's dissatisfaction with the result resonated with fans and analysts alike. On the other side, the Minnesota Lynx, spearheaded by Napheesa Collier and rookie sensation Diamond Miller, were fighting tooth and nail, defying expectations at every turn. Everything was set up for an unforgettable finale, but what we got left fans and players questioning the integrity of the game. LeBron made it clear that officiating should never be the deciding factor in a championship game. "I've been in enough finals to know that refs should never decide the game," LeBron said, echoing the frustration of many fans. "You can't have those kinds of calls in a Game 5. It's not fair to the players who've worked all season for this moment." His comments added fuel to an already heated debate about the fairness of the refereeing, with many questioning whether the game had been influenced by forces beyond the players. LeBron's voice, with his stature in the basketball world, has only intensified the conversation, putting the spotlight on the WNBA's officiating like never before. With the Liberty building momentum, the officials began making a series of controversial calls. First, a phantom foul on Breanna Stewart sent her to the bench with her fourth personal foul early in the third quarter, completely shifting the game's balance. Fans in the arena could be heard booing loudly, and even the commentators struggled to defend the call. "That's a tough one," they said. Tough? It was downright questionable.
We don't want to hear this again. This is not the first time that Coach Reeve has done this. In 2016, Coach Reeve complained about that then. She said it cost him a championship then. Well, guess what?
The fourth quarter is where everything unraveled in dramatic fashion. With just under 6 minutes left on the clock, the Liberty were up by 8 points, seemingly on the verge of capturing the championship. The crowd was buzzing, anticipation building. But then, a series of mind-boggling referee calls sent the game spiraling into chaos. It started with a stunningly questionable blocking foul on Courtney Vandersloot as she drove hard to the basket, an aggressive but clean play. Instead of letting the play unfold, the refs blew the whistle. Fans were left in disbelief. This wasn't just a call you'd argue over during a regular season game. This was the WNBA Finals, Game 5, where every moment mattered. The kind of call that halts momentum, shifts focus, and breaks the spirit. And break it did.
But they had the title in their grasp, and as Cheryl Reeve put it, it was stolen from them. And that might be a little strong, but it also ain't completely wrong. And that is going to, she stole the headlines from the New York Liberty, let's put it that way. Because normally, everything would be about the Liberty and celebrating the championship. And instead, today, there's controversy.
Became the turning point for Minnesota. The entire arena could feel it. The tide had turned, not because of play, but because of a whistle. Just when it seemed like the Liberty might regain control, another controversial moment unfolded. Breanna Stewart, New York's cornerstone, rose up for a crucial three-point attempt. Clearly hit on the arm, everyone in the building anticipated a whistle. Everyone except the referees, it seemed. The no call left the Liberty bench in disbelief. Coach Sandy Brondello was livid, pacing up and down the sideline, furiously signaling for a foul, but her protests fell on deaf ears. The officials weren't budging, and the missed call was like a punch to the gut for New York's momentum. But the real dagger came with just 1:30 left in the game. New York was clinging to a 1-point lead when Napheesa Collier drove to the basket. As she attempted to push through the defense, a whistle pierced the tension-filled arena. A foul? The crowd gasped. Replays showed minimal, if any, contact from Jonquel Jones, who had stood her ground perfectly with her arms straight up. It was the kind of textbook defense that should be praised, not punished. Yet, Collier was awarded 2 free throws. The tension in the arena was palpable as Collier stepped to the line. She calmly sank both shots, giving Minnesota the lead and, with it, a wave of momentum that New York couldn't recover from.
What that actually means, because I feel like for most basketball fans, we don't hear not in legal guarding position often for the reasoning as to why a referee calls a foul.
Smith is not in a legal guarding position. Therefore, Stewart will be shooting 2 free throws. And Minnesota
the game went into overtime and the Liberty came out with the victory and they won their first championship ever in the history of Liberty basketball. But
after the game, players from both teams were thrust into the media spotlight and the tension was palpable. While many tried to remain diplomatic, the frustration of the Liberty players was unmistakable. Breanna Stewart, typically composed, reflected on the game with a hint of bitterness. "There were some things we couldn't control," she stated in the post-game press conference, her words a subtle dig at the officiating that had overshadowed their performance. Sabrina Ionescu, visibly upset, added, "We played our hearts out, but when the game is called like that, it's hard to feel like you have a chance." Her frustration resonated with fans and teammates alike, highlighting the sense of injustice felt throughout the Liberty camp. Meanwhile, fans weren't holding back. Social media exploded with accusations of foul play and calls for accountability. Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. Every platform was flooded with passionate posts dissecting every controversial call and non-call frame by frame. Clips of the disputed plays circulated rapidly, sparking heated debates among fans and analysts alike. Hashtags like WNBA officiating and #LibertyRobbed trended as supporters rallied behind their team, demanding justice for what they felt was a stolen championship opportunity. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a mix of anger and disbelief that the game could end in such a contentious manner. The outrage wasn't just limited to the players or the coaching staff. Social media erupted as frustrated fans took to Twitter, venting their disbelief. "This was a disgrace," one Liberty fan tweeted. "The refs gave this game to the Lynx on a silver platter." Another enraged commenter echoed the sentiment. "You can't tell me this wasn't rigged. Not with those calls down the stretch." The frustration was palpable, and the conversation quickly turned from excitement over the game to accusations of bias and manipulation. Even analysts and commentators were left shaking their heads, trying to make sense of what had just unfolded. Sports journalists, WNBA insiders, and former players questioned how such crucial calls could be so badly mishandled in the final game of the series. Some even called for an official review of the officiating. Rumors began swirling that certain referees had a bias, and whispers of favoritism spread through fan forums and media outlets. Could the outcome have been influenced by forces beyond the game itself? The idea that such an important moment in women's basketball could be overshadowed by questionable officiating left a sour taste in the mouths of fans everywhere. Now the big question looms large. Could the WNBA itself have played a role in this controversy? In the world of professional sports, Leagues have a vested interest in making their product as appealing and marketable as possible. A Game 5 that goes down to the wire is the kind of thrilling drama that captivates audiences and draws in viewers. But did the league have a vested interest in a particular outcome? Let's not forget that Minnesota has a storied legacy in the WNBA, a dynasty in its own right, while New York is still chasing its first ever title. This dynamic creates an intriguing narrative. Some conspiracy theorists suggest that the league might have aimed to protect Minnesota's legacy, ensuring that their dominance continues for the sake of historical relevance and maintaining the interest of longtime fans.